Hey y'all, hey, this is your girl Janaya, and you are now tuned into Awakening Wounds. Before I start, I want you to follow me on Instagram at Awakening Wounds and hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on new episodes, as we'll release every Friday and speak on personal development topics such as conditional love, which we'll get into in just 1 second. But before I do, check your girl fit out. Okay, let me raise this up so I can show y'all. It's getting sophisticated, okay? It's giving, I might be your therapist. Okay, but for real, y'all know what to do. Leave a rate in the comments and let's get into today's episode. Disclaimer. My intentions is to research, reflect, and suggest strategies on personal development topics that will lead us into our higher self. This is not a judgmental gossip podcast. If you are looking for that, then you have come to the wrong place. This podcast is for healing. If you are offended or upset, please understand it is not what I said, but how it made you feel. I want you to pay attention to that feeling throughout this episode. Okay, now back to today's episode. Can I just tell y'all how excited I am about today's topic? Just off the simple fact that I have had to cut a lot of people off because of this. And yes, today's episode will be from my healed self and not my unhealed self. And so what is conditional love? According to the internet, conditional love is love with conditions. I know, right? That's simple. This means another person's love for you is contingent on certain actions or gifts or things going on. What are the different ways that conditional love shows up in different relationship dynamics, such as friend, lover, family, or yourself? The first person is a friend. When you're friends with a person that is a conditional lover, they will walk away in the midst of your challenges. You're always supporting them, but they never support you back, or it's rare. They gossip about you when you don't do something for them. You feel as if you're forcing the relationship. You're always the one initiating things. I feel like I had this come up a lot of times in my friendships. I don't take pride in conditional love with friendships. It's either you're going to love me unconditionally, and it's that, or we're just not going to hang. Next, you have family members. Whew, baby, that's a sensitive topic. If you watching this, if you ain't never exhibited conditional love by your family members, you one of the ones. You rare. Like, I feel like family is the main group that shows conditional love by only showing you love when you accomplish something. You never feel like you were good enough, and still as an adult today, you still don't feel like that. You dread expressing yourself or talking openly with your parents. You felt unlovable when you disappointed your parent. And lastly, you worked hard to not to need anything from your parents. And I feel like that is me. I feel like that last point, like a lot of them points I resonate with, but I feel like that last point touches to me because me as a person, one thing I can't stand is for somebody to tell me what they did for me. And it overly, like, that irritates me, but I feel like it hurts me when a family member does it or like my parent does it. It's like, this is what you're supposed to do without it having to be any backlash. When the other part of being beneficial doesn't come through for you, you should still be happy to help. I feel like this is also detrimental because you want to be around your family members, but at what cost? Conditional love from your parents honestly causes internal problems within yourself. Like, you start to have self-worth issues because your parents always tied love to you accomplishing things and exceeding at things or doing things that you were expected to do. And so when you don't do those things and your parent exhibits withdrawing love from you, that makes you say to yourself, I'm only as good as what I can accomplish. I'm only as good as my accomplishments. And that is totally false. When we get too comfortable with beating ourselves up when we make a mistake, then we need to take a step back and look into our childhood and start to realize that maybe we're beating ourselves up so bad because our parents never accepted our mistakes full-heartedly. Maybe they judged us by our mistakes. And maybe they showed us less love because we made those mistakes. We as humans, we won't always have something to give. We won't always have something to be proud of and to showcase. And so when you don't have anything to give, then all that you want is love. But if all you've been getting love from is conditional lovers, then now that leaves a void of you of feeling like you aren't good enough. But it's not that you're not good enough, it's just that you were loving conditional lovers and that you were conditionally loving yourself. The person you have is your significant other or lover. And I feel like this type of conditional love is different because it's romantic. It's more intense and more intimacy. You try to change who you are as a person in order to be loved by this person. Another time is you feel like you have to earn their love or prove your worth. If it's unconditional love, you don't have to show anything. You don't have to show anything. All you have to do is be yourself. Another thing is that they don't support you as much. In relationships, I feel like your significant other should be your number one cheerleader. And if they're not, that's a problem. Lastly, we have ourselves. Honey, we don't understand how much we exhibit conditional love to ourselves. This shows up as negative self-talk. You think you are your mistakes, beating yourself up about things that happened years ago that you cannot fix. You don't value your opinion. If you say something and you voice it, when others speak against it, you instantly go to their side. Stand your ground. It's your opinion, whether you wrong or right. Only give yourself love or acceptance when you winning. Whew. Okay, let me talk about it. I just got about a season of that. I just had to realize and tell myself, no. What about when I'm not doing those things? I'm still great. I'm still lovable. I'm still worthy. One setback don't make me unlovable. One mistake don't make me unlovable. A couple of mistakes don't make me, 30 mistakes don't make me unlovable. It makes me human. And I feel like in order to get through this human experience, because it does have its ups and downs, you need to learn how to love yourself unconditionally, always. Next one is perfectionist. This is something I had big. And this also stemmed from my childhood. Growing up in my household, when you didn't get something right or when you did it wrong and it was supposed to be labeled as common sense, baby, you got called all dumbasses and all type of stuff. Like a person to just make you feel illiterate. And so for me, I just grew up with this belief that if I get it right on the first time, a motherfucker ain't gonna have shit to say. Wrong or right, y'all. If I get it right on the first time, is the person going to have something to say? They ain't. And so I started to develop this perfectionism in me. But it started to eat at me too, because as humans, once again, we don't always get it right on the first time. And so when I didn't get something right on the first time, or when I didn't get the results that I was expected of, I gave up. And that's the wrong mindset. You can't tell me the people that are successful in this life today are successful because they got it right on the first time. No. Ask them how many times they got it wrong. They got it wrong a lot of times. And so I had to get up out of this perfectionism of saying that I'm going to do it anyways, because what I can get out of it is that I can learn from it. So even if I'm failing, I'm not failing, I'm learning. And if I'm winning, then hey, I succeeded. Lastly, you only feel good when you pamper yourself. Oh my God. I got to stress this. I'm sorry, because that was me too. If I wanted to do anything, I had the means to. Press days when I was in depression and I was telling myself, don't nobody fuck with you. Don't nobody like you. You unlovable. You ain't even worthy. Like, who is you? I just get up, take myself to the mall, tell myself, who ain't worthy? Who ain't lovable? This bag costs $3,000. Could you do it? That was like on some shitting on a person type thing. But it wasn't even necessarily shitting on them. It was to make myself shit on myself, that you feel like you down and depressed and lonely, but who depressed with a $3,000 bag on? And let me tell y'all, secret, a lot of people is. They like me. They were self-pampering through the hurt, through the depression. So that wraps up the 4 dynamics of conditional love with the varying relationships. So now that we have identified conditional love and how it shows up in various relationships with others, let's talk about conditional love. According to the internet, unconditional love is love without strings attached. It's love you offer freely. You don't base it on what someone could do for you. You simply love them and want nothing more in return than their happiness. And this type of love in this world is very rare. Everybody wants something from everyone. And the ones that do exhibit unconditional love are done dirty. They are mistreated and misunderstood. And a lot of people that are conditional lovers don't understand that. They think love is transactional. They think relationships are transactional. And while they are, you should not build a relationship because you know you could get something from that person. You should build a relationship with someone or something because you know it could help build you. Let me repeat that. You should not build a relationship with someone because of what they could do for you. You should build a relationship with someone because you know it could build you. So how does unconditional love show up in relationships? Tough times are worked out through kindness and understanding. They support you in good times or bad. There are no strings attached. They have no hidden agendas. They are proud of you and they show it. I think a lot of times people just say, "Oh, I'm proud of you, congratulations," but they never show it. They forgive you easily. Yes, and I think a person that loves you unconditionally understands that love is forgiving and that sometimes a person will make mistakes. And so they forgive you because they know that. Now, this is not to say that you allow someone to disrespect you or to cheat on you or to beat on you. I think that's where unconditional love gets misconstrued, is that a person thinks if they unconditionally love someone, they just supposed to accept anything. No. While unconditional love is boundless and free, it definitely should have its boundaries to protect you from providing lack of love to self. Now, I know some of y'all thinking, well, what the hell is the difference between conditional love and unconditional love with boundaries? One simple answer: ego. The ego or mind sets conditions to satisfy you, while the heart sets boundaries to protect you. Conditions are tangible requests. I need you to have this or do this in order for me to blank, blank, blank. Boundaries are limits you set for self. These limits determine what you're willing to participate in and what you're not. This decision is to solely take responsibility of your own needs. Because when you can do this for self, you can allow yourself to give more without requiring the other to give back. Not only are you exhibiting unconditional love to them, but you're exhibiting unconditional love for you because you're not putting yourself in situations that are uncomfortable anymore. And I think that's the main factor of what differentiates conditional love from unconditional love. It's based on what is the person here for? Are they here for you, or are they here because of what you can do for them and what you can provide? How you simply test that out is tell the person, no, I can't do that right now. And see how they react. A lot of times when you can't do something for somebody, a lot of times when you're not beneficial to someone, they don't want no dealings with you. And that's good. You should check that off and say, I'm glad you don't want no dealings. I'm glad you don't want to associate with me. Why I'm glad you don't want to associate with me? I'm glad you don't want to associate with me because all you were going to do is give me conditional love anyways, and I want unconditional. You see? You change that and you flip that back on them. Don't beat yourself up and don't feel no type of way because you had to separate from situations, places, and things that weren't in alignment with you. God seen that they weren't for you. God seen that they were there because of the things that you were doing for them. So don't be mad. Trust the process and understand it all happens for a reason. And let me tell you something, because I've been on this spiritual journey since I moved to Chicago, so for 10 months now. Let me just tell you how much has been shown to me, and I was disguising a lot of it as fake vibes or weirdness. It wasn't weirdness, it wasn't fake vibes, it's conditional love. I wasn't beneficial to them people no more, so they didn't want to be around. Me kind of depressed, and that put me in a point where I was just like, this is not life. I don't like life. I don't have nobody. And then as months went on, I started to understand, and I started to be happy that God removed me from them people, places, and things, because I started to understand that, oh, you only around me because I could do something for you. As soon as I tell you no, then now you ain't talking to me. That's okay, because the ones that have been unconditionally loving me, I have seen that they don't want nothing from me. They just want to be around me. They just want to love on me. They love me for me. They talk about me as a person, not all of the accomplishments I have achieved. And that's the difference. When a person truly loves you, they love on you for you. Not for the things that you have accomplished, not the things that you have obtained, and not the things that you could give them. Now that we understand the difference between the two, let's talk about how to step into receiving unconditional love. And so I want you guys to start spending time with yourself. Take charge of that inner dialogue. Turn that negative self-talk into positive. Start telling yourself that you can and that you will. Value and respect yourself, because when you start to value yourself, you start to realize who is not valuing you. And so your spirit can no longer participate in those rooms where people are only valuing you when you are beneficial to them. Also, be willing to accept what sets you apart from everyone else. I also want to note that I am aware that change is hard, and it's especially hard changing who you love. But setting those boundaries helps the process a little bit better. Anyways, that concludes today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this conversation was impactful and enlightening. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and leave a review in the comments if you liked this episode. Stay tuned for next Friday. We will talk about external validation. I love you guys. See you soon. Bye.